Good morning, y'all. It's Saturday morning, and this is another video on the Luderco Arms channel. Today we are going to put some new steering on the XJ. So first, let's talk about why we're doing this. So this is the factory steering setup. And you can see that these are pretty thin, and they get even thinner down here. And they are prone to bending, especially when you have larger tires. So I've got 33s on now, and when those wear out, I'm going to 35s. That's why we did the 488 gears. And this just is it's got too much flex in it. They end up bending and breaking. They're just not a good option. So I had put about I don't know, a year ago or so, I put this kind of real basic rock buggy steering on here, and don't get me wrong, there's really nothing inherently wrong with this steering. I mean, it works. It's tough, it's thick. You can see just how much thicker that is than the factory steering. But I have a couple of issues with this because this is my daily driver. So this steering will work fine like on a rock buggy if you're only going off-road, that kind of thing. The problem with it for me is that you cannot fine adjust the toe, and it's a real pain in the behind to adjust this drag link right here. So in order to adjust this drag link to get your steering wheel straight, you have to take all the clamps off that hold the steering stabilizer on. Not very convenient, but if you take the clamps off, you can adjust it. The real problem comes when you go to adjust the toe. So you see this drag link comes down, and it is hooked into the tie rod bar right here. So the problem is, if you go to adjust the toe in or out, you have to do one of two things. Either you've got to take this tie rod end loose, and you can turn this tie rod, but you have to go complete turns. This hole, like all tie rod holes, is tapered, so you have to go a complete turn one way or the other. You can alternatively break loose one of your tie rod ends, and you can do half a turn. But if you've ever done a toe adjustment, when you're talking about a 1/16 of an inch toe in, that kind of massive adjustments are just not going to cut it. You're going to end up plus or minus one way or the other, and it's just not going to be, it's just not what you need. Now, you know, an off-road buggy or something, that's fine, you know, it's close enough. The other problem I have with this is I do not like the offset tie rod ends. So because of the geometry of the steering on this thing, and the fact that you've got your pumpkin cover here, you've got to have these offset tie rod ends. So they're offset, they're not centered on the thing. Well, the problem with those is when your drag link is pushing this one way or the other, it tends to want to push this tie rod down or up, not side to side. And so then you've got to put these I don't know if you can see them, but see these white Delrin? You got to put these things in there to try to keep this from moving. And of course they wear, and as they wear, your steering gets a little looser. Now again, none of this is a problem for a rock buggy, which is what this steering setup was intended for. So like I said, it's not like this steering is not a piece of shit. It's just fine. It's just not the best solution for my vehicle, because while I do off-road this thing quite a bit, I also daily drive it to work and back. So having those having the toe be fine adjustable is important, and not having slop is important. So that takes us to what we're going to put on, which is this. Oh, let me get up here. Right here. So this is a Rock Jock or Currie Enterprises. There's the number. It's a CE 9701. John Currie Currect Lync steering system. And so what this basically does is, this is the factory steering, but massive. Look how big this thing is. Let's pull this out of here and compare it to the factory piece that it's replacing. You can see how much of a difference there is there. It's massive. It's huge. You compare that little skinny thing to that, it's a big difference. Very big difference. And by doing that, we are going to be able to adjust the steering and the drag link without having to take anything else loose. You'll be able to use the adjustment sleeves as they were intended. So that's what we're going to do today. So first things first, let me get this thing jacked up and on jack stands, and then I'll bring you back and we'll go from there. Alright, so I got the up on jack stands, got the wheels took off. So the next step is going to be removing the old steering. So that's going to involve going to pull the bolt out of the steering stabilizer here, and then pull the 3 cotter pins and pull these nuts off and knock these tie rods loose and take this all out as one piece, so it'll be easier to store in the shed. So let's get started. Alright, so there we go. We got the old off, and now we will get busy with getting the new ready to go back on. So let me get this junk out of the way, and we'll I'll bring you back to start with the new stuff. Okay, we got the old rock buggy steering put up in the shed now, and I've got my old factory steering sitting here next to the new steering so that I could set up some dimensions just to go for the initial install, and that'll get us close enough where we can put this thing in there and then set our toe and adjust our drag link. So that's why I kept that old steering, and you can see everything's pretty close to equal now. We've got this is only put in temporary according to the instructions for this Currect Lync steering, which you'll have to print off of the computer because it doesn't come with the instructions. It comes with a little card with a QR code, which I guess you can, if you're younger, you can use your phone, but I already have to wear reading glasses, so I need something bigger than that. So anyways, we got that set up. That one tie rod is just put in there finger tight, and once you get everything in and the two tie rod ends and the drag link installed and torqued down, then you have to then you adjust that tie rod end so that the cotter pin hole lines up with the machine slot in it, which, well, you'll see when we get to that part. So we got this set up, so we're going to go ahead and wrestle it onto our hubs and get the nuts started on the two tie rod ends and on the drag link end, and then we'll torque them and put some new cotter pins in them, and then we'll get to putting the torquing that one and getting the cotter pin lined up. So let me set the camera up where maybe y'all can see what I'm doing. So we're just going to get this in there, and then we'll get the ends put on and everything. Well, we got that part started. I got to fix the threads on that tie rod end because it flopped on the floor and busted, or not busted, but dinged the threads. So let me get something to fix that with. I'll be right back. Okay, in case you ding your threads up, it's 1/2 inch 20 fine thread. I just ran the die down on there with my fingers. It wasn't too bad. I just didn't want to take a chance on getting that nut screwed up, being it holds the steering on. So that's on there now. Now we need to sorry about that. Alright, let's get these pulled up by hand here. Finger tight, and then we got to get this up in here. Like that. All right. So now we've got it sitting in place, and we're going to have to torque these tie rod ends and drag link end, and their instructions call for 55 foot-pounds. So let me get the torque wrench here. And the proper socket for that. And once you get to 55 foot-pounds, then you'll have to tweak it just a hair more to line up your cotter pin hole. You just want to do a little bit at a time until you get that hole lined up where you can get your cotter pin in. Right there. Okay, so we got this first one torqued down, and we'll throw our cotter pin in, bend it back over and down. Like so. And we'll do it. Go over here and do the other side and the top. Alright, so now that we've got those all in and torqued down, we can get the other one. So let me grab something and I'll be right back. Alright, now that everything else is torqued down, we've still got this one tie rod end that goes from the driver's side over to the drag link. And we've just got it in there hand tight right now. So what we want to do, and there's a reason it was done that way, you'll see here in a second. So hopefully you can see it, but the hole for the cotter pin is got to line up with the slot cut in there for it. See the slot that's milled across there? So what we've got to do is pull that out and kind of turn that to get that hole lined up, and then we can put it back on there, torque it down, and we'll be able to slide the cotter pin in through that slot. So we can get this where I can see it where you can see. So we'll pull this out. And we know we've got to tweak it around just a little bit, and I've got this little broken screwdriver I can use to do it. I don't know if that actually turned or not. No, I think I just moved the tie rod end. So let's push that back, and we've got to twist that a little bit. I think that got it there. Alright, now you can see that well, if I can get it where you can see it in the light, you can see that the cotter pin hole is now lined up with the milled out slot. So now we can put our nut back on, run it down finger tight. And then grab our torque wrench and torque it. I got to get a different socket though. This socket won't fit down in there. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got a socket that will fit down in the hole, and we want to torque this to 55 just like the rest of them. And then we'll have to move it around until the slot lines up. There we go. So in the instructions, they tell you to take your cotter pin and put a little bow in it like that to help get it in there. And that worked pretty darn good. There we go. All right, cotter pin installed. Okay, so now that we've got it all on there, we've got to, we're gonna have to adjust our toe. Once we get the toe where we want it, then we're going to have to throw the wheels back on and drive it a little bit so that it settles in, and the steering wheel, then we can bring it back in and we will adjust the drag link to get the steering wheel straight. And once we've got that done, then we can reinstall the steering stabilizer. So let me get my tools and stuff for setting the toe, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now I'm ready to set my toe. So there's several different ways of doing this, but most all of them boil down to the same basic principle. So I have these angle irons that are machined. I bought them from Bleepin' Jeep. You can make your own. I bought these because they already had the slots and everything machined. They'll fit several different wheels. And you basically bolt those on both sides and get them in the same position. And you can see I've got my little bubble level here, so I can try to keep these level. We've got the same setup on this side. We'll level them up. And on this, because my hubs, my manual locking hubs, they're held on by the lug nuts, and it's got an O-ring seal behind here that seals it to the hub. And so I put 3 bolts on there just to make sure it's collapsed or compressed all the way up against the hub as it should be. Yeah, every little thing helps with getting the measurements right. So now we can take a tape measure and we'll put it from here across and measure, and then do the same back here, and then the difference will be our toe in or toe out, and then we can adjust. So I will set the camera here so y'all be able to kind of see what I'm doing, but there's no way for me to do it and hold the camera at the same time. I forgot I need my reading glasses. Getting old makes it hard to read the tape measure, right? All right. Right there we've got 62 5/8. Find a pen so I can write it down. Back side there. And on the back we've got 63 and looks like 3/16. So that is definitely way too much toe in. So we are going to have to adjust that out some. So we'll go here to our tie rod. Turn it in a little bit and remeasure and see where we're at there. Nope, I messed up. I need to go out some. And then you take another measurement, and basically you keep doing that until you get it where it's a 1/16 of an inch smaller at the front than at the back. Perfect right there. That's 62 7/8. Okay, so right there we've got 62 7/8 at the front and 62 15/16 at the rear, so that is 1/16 toe in. So we're going to go ahead and tighten up that tie rod. And the torque on those is 40 foot-pounds, and I believe it's 14 millimeter and a 17 millimeter socket. All right, a 17 millimeter socket and a 14 millimeter wrench. So let's get those torqued. Oh. Alright, there's one. All right. So those are torqued down now, and I like to go ahead and throw the tape back across there and double check my measurements. Now that it's torqued. Yep, that's 62 7/8. and 15/16. So we're good there. So now that we got that done, what we're going to do is go ahead and put the steering stabilizer on. Earlier I had said we need to do the drag link first, but I wasn't thinking right. That was for the old system where you had to take the steering stabilizer off in order to adjust the drag link. So what the drag link does is sets your steering wheel in place. So basically once we get this put back together, we'll put the wheels on it, we'll run it up and down the road a little bit and come back in here and basically back up out of the shop and drive straight in with it. What's the word I'm looking for? Not holding the steering wheel straight, but letting the truck drive straight and letting the steering wheel be wherever it would be when the truck's driving straight. And that way you'll know which way to adjust the drag link in or out to get the steering wheel straight when you're driving down the road. You also know a little bit by when you drive it, see how far off it is. It shouldn't be too far off because we've got this thing pretty close to the same measurements that we had when the factory steering was on it, which was right on. So let's get let me get the stuff set up and I'll show you putting the drag link or the steering stabilizer on. I'll be right back. Alright y'all, I apologize, I got a little ahead of myself. So putting the steering stabilizer on is pretty straightforward. You bolt the rear end in first, and then you got this bracket with the clamps, and what you want to do is kind of get it on there in this general area right here and snug these just tight enough where this bracket's not sliding. Doesn't have to be super tight. You don't want to torque it yet. And then get this bolt in there, and then once you get all that on, you turn the steering wheel all the way to the right, and then check that this shock still has about 1/8 of an inch before it's bottomed out. You don't want it to completely bottom out. And so you set this so that when this is all the way to the right, the shock is bottomed out, and then pull it back out 1/8 of an inch or so, tighten the clamp down. It's pretty simple. Then once you get that done, you want to go ahead and run the steering lock to lock back and forth. Sorry about that, the battery went dead. Anyways, you want to run it back and forth and make sure nothing's hitting, everything has clearance, and make sure you've torqued everything down. So the only adjustment we have left now will be the drag link to set the steering wheel if we need to. It'll depend. I'll have to put the wheels back on it and take it for a run, and then bring it back in and see where the steering wheel's sitting driving straight down the road. So because I've been driving this every day, I know I'm not going to have a pulling issue. The toe is right on, so that's not going to be a problem. Now, of course, once you've done anything with steering or suspension, you should take your vehicle and get it aligned if you don't know how to do it. I'm not going to at this time because my tires are already screwed up anyways, and they're really old. This thing sat for like 8 years before I bought it with those tires on it. So as soon as I wear them out, I'll be getting a set of 35s. Now when I get the 35s, when I go to get those mounted, I'll be getting a full alignment on this thing. And I'm pretty good at doing it the old, with the tape measures and everything, but it's always good to have it checked out. So let me get the wheels thrown back on this thing, and I'll take it for a test run. And when I get back, I'll bring you back, and we'll either be adjusting the drag link or finishing up. So we'll be back with that. Alright, everything is installed, bolted down, torqued. All of the grease fittings have been lubricated, and my wheels are back on, so time to run this thing down the road and see where the steering wheel sits, and see if we've got to make any adjustments to the drag link, and see how it does. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back. I'll bring you back, and we'll maybe adjust the drag link, maybe not, we'll see. Be right back. Okay, so I am now back from the test run. Drives down the road good, nice and straight. Don't really have any toe problems. It steers better than it did with the buggy steering. The problem with that buggy steering is the geometry it's stronger than the factory steering, but the geometry, the factory steering has got the geometry down, which is why I went with this Currect Lync, because you can definitely tell the difference. One thing for sure I can show you on the old one, let's walk out here. The drag link on the old one was at such a severe angle to the pitman arm, and that rod end there just was slam wore out, which I did not know until I went to take it apart. Oh, I got to turn the light on here. So if we look at this rod end here, this is the drag link that was on the pitman arm, and you see, I don't know if you can hear that, it's got grease in it, but it's loose as all get out. It's wore out. And I didn't really know that. I mean, that thing's not even, it's about a year old. But the angle that it was at relative to the pitman arm, it was so severe, and it only got worse as you turned back and forth, that it was just wore itself out. And I think that kit would be better if it had maybe a bend at the end like the factory stuff does. See this? Let's see if I can show you. Get the light here. Yeah, see the end of this drag link here. Get where you can see what I'm talking about. See how this is angled so that there's the ball joint, or the tie rod end itself, is not at a severe angle. The other kit did not. It was all of the angle was taken up by the tie rod end, so it just beat the crap out of itself basically. So now that we have done the test run, what we've got to do, I backed up and pulled in here a couple of times to get the steering wheel lined up the way it was going down the road, and it's just barely off. You can see right there, it's just barely off. So what we're going to do is adjust the drag link. So you do this with the car sitting on the ground and the wheels sitting on the ground. And so you got your two clamps here that we're going to take loose, and then we're going to turn this to adjust the position of that steering wheel. And it's not going to take much, just a hair, so we're not going to go too wild with it. And like I said, I'm just running out these 33s that I have on here. They're already ate up, but I don't like to pay for tires, so I'm going to run them on out before I get my 35s. And when I get the 35s, when I go to have them mounted and balanced, by the place over there, I'll have them fine-tune this alignment. So by turning this one way or the other, it will move where the steering wheel is at. So we moved it that far. I think we may have to go the other direction. Now, it might be, let's turn it a little bit more and see. That might be pretty close. Let's go on down here. See what that looks like. I went the wrong way. Let's go to right there. Yeah, so see, now our steering wheel is setting straight. So now we can tighten those clamps up and we'll be done. And we'll torque them to 40 foot-pounds as the directions call for. All right, let's get out from under this thing. So, yeah, there's really nothing wrong with the rock buggy type steering that I had on there. It's fine. And for a rock buggy, it'd probably be great. But for a daily driver where you're putting mile after mile after mile on it, it's just not suitable. It doesn't have enough adjustment. It doesn't have quite the right geometry. You have to put those Delrin spacers in there to keep it from pushing down or up. It's just the geometry's off on it. I think this system right here is probably about the best that you can do for a Cherokee. I mean, the AMC and Jeep and Chrysler did a shit ton of R&D putting that together. And the geometry's right. It's just the factory one's not very strong. Well, now we've got the geometry of the factory one, but with some super thick, solid rods. So I think we'll be good to go. I can't really complain about that at all. The only complaint that I have with this Currect Lync steering kit is that when you buy it, the box comes with a little baggie, this size baggie, full of all the bolts and nuts and cotter keys and stuff. And inside there they got a little slip of cardboard with a QR code to get the instruction sheets. And I, you know, at the risk of sounding like a 50-year-old or 51-year-old Gen Xer, I don't want to look at that shit on my phone. My hands are all dirty. The phone is small. I got to wear my reading glasses to see anything on a book, let alone a phone. So I would much rather print them out. So that's what I have to do. I had to go in on my computer and go to the website and look up the directions and print them out. So that's the biggest improvement I could say to Rock Jock or Currie Enterprises is take the extra minute and the extra 50 cents and print those instructions out and put them in the box for us old guys. It would be it'd be nice. It's not a big deal. I mean, I printed them off on my computer, but not everybody has a printer, so you know, it'd be nice. I just did like I usually do. I printed them off and put them in a book. And I mean, they're good. The instructions are great. They've got pictures and everything. They're just online, so it doesn't really help you in the shop. But you know, that's the way things are nowadays. So I'm already certain with the geometry and the angle that's on that, especially on that pitman arm, that this thing is going to last a heck of a lot longer with daily driving than that rock buggy one I had. So we'll see if anything changes. I'll update you, but I'm pretty impressed with it. And you know, as always, this is not sponsored. I bought that steering setup just like I bought the rock buggy steering setup that was on it before with my own money. No sponsors, no freebies. Yeah, it'd be nice. I wouldn't turn down something for free, but even if I did get it for free, I'd let y'all know and I'd still be honest about it. But as it stands, this is a small channel and people don't give small channels stuff for free. So yeah, it's was bought with my own money, no sponsorship. So hopefully this has helped y'all out, gave you an idea of what's in the Currect Lync steering setup, and it is expensive. There's no doubt about it, but I feel like you're getting what you're paying for, because I don't think a year from now I'm going to have to be replacing it like I did that rock buggy steering. And there again, you know, the rock buggy steering setup is for a rock, but it's not for daily driving every day. But we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.